Has it ever happened to you that you lose something and when you are looking for it, you find something else more important? That happened to me when I was 16 years old, and I consider it one of those key moments in my life. Since you are here and that you have come, I am going to tell you. It turns out that I was playing with my classmates in the schoolyard and the ball slipped into the roof, and I, who have always been very saltimbanky, did not have time to go up to the roof to look for it. Do you know what I found there? I found a magnifying glass as big as the palm of my hand. I am convinced that this magnifying glass was waiting for me. I knew immediately what I wanted to do with her. I wanted to build a telescope. And you will say, and where does this idea of building a telescope come from when he was 16 years old? Well, it comes to me from a few years before a little book from the Mir publishing house fell into my hands where the constellations were described and also, and most importantly, how they would look with a small telescope. So it is that with that little book my friend Wanfrey and I would go out to the outskirts of town, and with the light of the bicycle headlight we would illuminate what the book said. We read the directions, and I remember that night was the first time I identified the North Star and the Big Dipper in the sky. I don't know if it was that moment, that of the book, that awakened my interest in astronomy, or it was later, at the age of 16, when I began to tinker with tubes and magnifying glasses. So imagine how my imagination lit up when I picked up that magnifying glass from the roof, which I held in my hands, and I immediately knew what the telescope was going to be like. That telescope would be, well, that telescope was a plastic tube with a magnifying glass on the roof at the end. The axes were plumbing pipes, and I soldered the tripod with an old basin, those with the twisted legs that I rescued from my grandmother's furniture. For welding, what I used was glue and medium, and instead of screws I used wire and electrical tape. Very tight. Do you know how long that telescope lasted? Well, it lasted as long as the effect of the glue and a half and the electrical tape lasted. That magnifying glass fell to the ground and shattered into 1,000 pieces. You cannot imagine the illusion that I put into building that telescope. The amount of questions that popped into my head about how this telescope could be improved was endless. With it I saw the moon as I had never seen it before, and even though I had already been tinkering with curved crystals that I filled with water to form images, but no, it was with that providential magnifying glass on the roof of the institute that I was able to make this small, fully functional assembly. Among the family I was already positioning myself as the handyman of magnifying glasses, and a French cousin of mine who knew about my hobby came to town on vacation and brought me a well-thumbed book whose cover on a blue background was drawn with a white wooden telescope. The title of the book, The Construction of the Amateur Telescope by Jean Texereau. I am not going to do the translation because it is obvious. When I was looking at that book, it really motivated me to see those poor quality black and white images, but it had those diagrams made by hand, so beautiful, so precious, those formulas that appeared, equations, those data that I did not understand, that for me they were difficult but they were ultimately simple. Everything was explained in that book, and I decided that what I wanted to do was polish a 20-centimeter mirror and build myself a wooden telescope, as it was written in that book. Everything was clear there, but I never started that telescope. The time of compulsory military service arrived for me. The military service, which surely many of those here may not know what that was, and I had to leave right after the military service, because I already found myself fully in the adult world and all those different job constellations you have to earn your keep with. The first of them, well, a bookseller, a bookstore that I set up, a small bookstore that I set up in the town, which did not finish working, which I had to expand with stationery, school supplies, which did not work either, which I later incorporated toy stores, and which eventually became a video store. Yeah. One of those sites where the movies were before it was gone all over that internet. Then, later, I became a house painter. That job that I kept for 9 years was really not totally foreign to me, because I learned to paint pictures as a child imitating my brother. Then, like it doesn't want the thing, the world of color and composition was accompanying me throughout my life, and there came a time when, like it didn't want the thing, it is leading you to what is currently my work, with which I have been developing for 20 years, that of the graphic designer. To all that going from job to job, being left without a job, not working for you, because nowadays it's called reinventing yourself. Well, little by little, I gradually reinvented myself, one after another, until I finally decided at the age of 35, without having developed that dream that I had as a child and that I abandoned at the age of 18, which was to build myself a telescope. So you know what I did? I bought myself a fabulous 30-centimeter mirror and started building a wooden telescope. A wooden telescope that when it started to work I decided to build myself a metal one. And a metal one because, at that time, I thought that a telescope, to be real, had to be made of iron. It had to be solid, hard. So I really had no idea about metal. I had never worked on it in my life. What's more, I considered it a hard and dangerous material. Those sparks that come out of the radial when you were cutting the iron, if that imposes anyone. And what orb am I going to tell about the flashes of welding? And that makes your eyes like tomatoes that later at night there are no eye drops to take away the stinging? Even so, I was learning, especially watching the masters work, mainly Julian El Herrero, who mastered the iron, and Vicente El Tornero, who was molding pieces for me on his lathes and milling cutters. I also remember going through huge amounts of information on the internet around that time trying to see how other people have solved problems similar to mine. Also, I decided that I had to knock on as many doors as necessary in order to find that little bit of information that would allow you to take a little leap forward in the development of this passion. Since I lived in a town, I found the materials from my immediate environment, mainly from the junkyard in Puebla de Almoradillo. It is a magnificent junkyard that really has nothing to envy to the junkyards of the big city. In that junkyard you find everything. You can find archaic tractors, you can find crushed cars, mutilated reducers, you can find completely obsolete machinery. Everything in that junkyard except telescopes. The result is that you see yourself climbing the piles of iron, mentally scrapping whatever scrap you see, trying to find a shaft, a gear, a bearing that might work for you. I can assure you that the first assemblies, the first frames that I made with those materials were true monstrosities that earned me the well-deserved fame of rario among the workshops I visited. Even so, I was experimenting with those materials until I got enough practice, enough experience, and was able to finally outline what would be that telescope that I always longed for. Would it be a telescope that would build it with that 12-inch mirror I bought? And it would be a mount, a completely iron telescope weighing about 500 kilos. But of course, 500 kilos of weight cannot be taken back and forth in the car like anything else. Then I saw the need to build a small building where he could be housed and protected. Yes, a small building where I could observe. That would become the observatory. So I think you are already guessing. We have passed the age of metal and now we are entering the age of cement. Now it's time for the bathroom. It turns out that on May 3, 1999, with these little hands, yes, with these little hands, it occurred to me to demolish an old family farmhouse and, well, with a pick and a shovel I made the foundations, raised the pillars and also the walls of this building. In October of that same year it was already finished and painted, as you can see. I remember that summer is a really beautiful summer, full of illusions, tremendous illusions. But it was also a summer of endless days and efforts that were unthinkable for me. If they had told me, maybe they wouldn't have started it. And also some astronomical shoelaces, I assure you. You already have the building, you already have the telescope, but now comes the most difficult part. How the hell do you build a dome? I mean, how the hell can you build a dome? A few little doors, so that the telescope can come out and see the sky. And suddenly, from time to time, 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 from time to time and another, from time to time, 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 from time to time of Julian El Herrero, who was always there, offering me his means, offering me their knowledge and also in a totally simple and close way, and really that is priceless. Starting in 1999, the years went by at tremendous speed, very quickly, building more domes, building more telescopes, developing more instruments, until there comes a time when you realize that maybe, it would be a good idea to project everything there is, that already quite complete observatory, beyond what is in individual use. So in 2007, together with Nacho, I created Fundación Asteroida, which soon after was joined by Leonor and Fernando, who is an engineer, and also Isidro, who helped us with everything related to administrative matters, and also Droid, our beloved Droid, which is another Isidro, but which develops the software for all the devices and all the instruments that we are making at the observatory. It is thanks to them that my little observatory has become a full-fledged astronomical complex, the IDA Astronomical Complex, from where science is done today. We are currently collaborating with the Instituto Astrofísica de Andalucía and the research projects of Professor José Luis Ortiz, and we are also collaborating with the University of Huelva within the lines of research of Professor Jose Maria Madieto, and I want to thank them both here for having trusted our capabilities. In all this panorama of successes and achievements that we are achieving at the observatory, in 2011, Bayes presents Makimak. And Makimak, you will ask yourself, what is it or who is it? Well, it is a little dwarf planet there in the confines of the solar system, which is a first cousin of Pluto, only a quarter of its size. Makimak meant for the history of our small observatory, as the object on which for the first time we obtained data with sufficient precision to be used in science. These data allowed the principal investigator, then, to make a prediction of an astronomical phenomenon, and 16 telescopes were mobilized throughout the world, 2 of them being the VLT with 8-meter mirrors that are in Chile, 2 of the largest in the world. This observation campaign was a complete success and allowed the researcher to publish an article in the Natura magazine, in the prestigious Natura magazine, and it was the first time that this researcher at our observatory had appeared in that magazine as well. Since 2010 we have joined the SMART project for the detection of fireballs and meteorites, which are all those things that are done at the observatory. And then in 2012 we set up one of the observatory's telescopes to dedicate it to the MIDAS project that is in charge of detecting impacts on the moon, and our telescope works in parallel together with 5 other telescopes that are in Andalusia. In 2013, the MIDAS project detected the largest direct impact recorded at the observatory, and in 2012 the largest direct impact recorded at the observatory. The MIDAS project detected the largest live impact ever recorded on the moon's surface. And when the researcher published the results, NASA was interested in the position of the impact and the ship that is orbiting the moon. The LRO came to photograph the new crater, a beautiful crater that today adorns the surface of the moon. Despite all this, I am still a graphic designer, which is somehow what sustains me, what gives me livelihood. And my colleagues, from Aventura, Leonor, Fernando, for the same reason they have their occupations outside the IDA. It turns out that through educational and informative activities we try to prevent the observatory from consuming our private resources. Because I have to tell you that everything we have done at the observatory has been done by us with our effort, enthusiasm and dedication, astronomical amounts of hours spent. To this day we have not received any type of substantial financial aid, and many times, when we see everything we've built, we look at each other and always make the same comment. And all this without financial resources? What would it have been if we had had them? What would it be if we had economic resources? Because the truth is that illusions and projects are not lacking. One of the most important things in the entire history of the observatory has been sharing with professionals, artisans, researchers, friends, who has united us all with a common passion, which is the passion for the cosmos. Ultimately, it is nothing more than the passion to push knowledge a little further, the passion to know. And also, ultimately, it is the passion to develop dreams, which in my case is my particular dream, the one that I have been dragging since I was a child. Tell you that in all this process, in all these years they have been making mistakes that have been necessary to reach objectives. It is inevitable in the continuous process of trial and error. But despite all the mistakes, for me the greatest success has been the very construction of the observatory itself, because it has transcended mere hobby and has been something that has given meaning to my own existence. It has definitely become a vital project, a life project. And you have to agree with me that a life without projects and without goals to achieve, how sad it would be, right? Thank you so much.